Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, a special edition of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. We're live from the First Star Logistics studio because tonight we're going to be previewing Rams at Bengals. I'm joined by my guy, special guest, Joe Goodberry's in the house. We're going to be breaking down all things Bengals, answering your questions. So as I always say, bring your questions, bring your comments, and bring your popcorn because we'll be interacting with you as the show goes on. But before you do all that, make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live from the First Star Logistics studio. With that being said, Joe, Bengals take on Rams tonight, Monday Night Football, down 0-2. Huge game, big game with huge implications, ramifications, whatever you like to say. Bengals can't afford
ramifications.
Ramifications. There we go. The Bengals can't afford to go down 0-3, man. They can't. And, it's a lot to ask for, this offensive line, obviously, to deal with the likes of Aaron Donald all game. So they have to devise a game plan, of course, that is best suited to help them be successful. Now, if you ask me, the game plan, I've been yelling from the mountaintop, yelling for the last couple of weeks, especially on State of the Jungle. I've been saying, hand the ball off to Joe Mixon. You brought him back for a reason. He is a bell cow. He, through 2 games, has looked like the best offensive player for the Cincinnati Bengals weapon, I'll say, right? Orlando Brown seems like he's settling into that role of left tackle, right? You can definitely get some push and movement up front. There's been a lot of Cordell Volson slander too. And I'm sure we're going to get to all that, but I got to hear what your initial thoughts are on Rams taking on the Bengals. Where do you sit with this thing? We know it was just reported by Diana Rossini and Kelsey Conway. Joe Burrow is going to try to give it a go tonight. What is your thought process on what the Bengals game plan should be heading into this Monday Night Football critical matchup against the Rams?
And now that Burrow is going to give it a go, you have to wonder how much of the game plan changes. Because I think if you look back the first 2 weeks, why didn't they run the ball more? I think it stems from Burrow's injury. You may think, well, he's got the injury. Protect him, run the ball. I agree. But I also think their shotgun running is a bit limited. Like they don't have a whole robust ground game. It's hard to run wide zone from the shotgun. It's hard to do a lot of different things from shotgun unless you have spent the whole offseason devising a run game. If you're watching like the 49ers and the Dolphins put up 70, they got a whole robust ground game. The Bengals don't have that. So I think if they wanted to go under center and do more of the run and do more variations of it, it would ask Burrow to get under there and drop, and I don't mean drop back to pass, but drop back to hand the ball off, especially in wide zone. That quarterback's got to run out from under center, and I don't think he's able to do that. So they wanted to limit what he was doing, his movements in the pocket, his movements in the offense as a whole. Now, if Burrow wasn't going to play, and I think the plan Sunday night going into Monday was Burrow's going to be out a while. And that's changed, obviously, clearly. I think when you start putting in the game plan for the week, you say, okay, if Browning's got to go, let's plan as if Browning's got to play. Let's get him under center. Let's run the ball. Browning can do this stuff. We don't have to worry about controlling him in terms of movement and how much he can do from under center. And let's have a Joe Mixon heavy game. The Rams are a bottom 5 roster in the league right now, other than the handful of superstars they have. So you can take advantage of that and put it in Mixon's hands. Now that Burrow's playing, and you've had him, and I'm assuming that's the game plan was to go get under center and run the ball. How much of that changes and how much of it goes back to what they're doing the last 2 weeks and being a little bit more limited in their options?
See, I hear what you're saying, man. And I think that, and we talked about this, obviously, probably at nauseum at this point. When you have the trio of wide receivers that you have, right, for the Bengals, it's hard to come in there with a game plan of, we're going to hand the ball off to a guy like Joe Mixon multiple times a game and limit the passing game. But I honestly think if you want to keep Joe Burrow in the fold for long term, I feel like you should, right? I think you should make that a focal point. Joe Mixon, I want you to talk a little bit about this. What would you attribute to Joe Mixon's early success that he's had this football season? Because it seems like this coaching staff has sort of gone away from the run game. Now, we could say it's because the games have gotten out of hand, yada, yada, whatever the case may be. But what do you think? What do you attribute to it? Because he looks like Joe Mixon from 2 years ago.
Yeah. And in week 1, in the neutral game script, meaning the game's still close and on first and second down, so non-third down, obvious passing situations, the Bengals were at 50-50 for run pass. So that they did have the idea that they were going to run the ball. The game got away from them week 1. They ended up throwing a bunch more. I think Mixon has looked good. I'm a complete agreement with you. The defenses are not respecting the run at all so far. They're saying, all right, we're playing these 2 high shells. We're not going to, let you guys take shots over the top. And if Mixon wants to run, fine. The Browns actually gave the Bengals one-on-one opportunities on the outside.
Yeah.
They just covered them really well.
Yeah,
and Burrow
they did.
wasn't hitting on them. You know, you go 0 for 8 on deep shots through
Mhm.
the first 2 weeks. I mean, that's what's going to
Right.
defense are going to say, fine, make sure you know, prove to me you can throw these deep balls still.
Right.
So I think there's going to be room for Mixon to run. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity. You got to also remember the Bengals are running a lot of RPOs and a lot of package plays, which means Burrow has the option pre-snap or actually post-snap on either, you know, package plays is more pre-snap.
Yeah.
What are you reading? You can hand it off, or you can hit the slow out route or a smoke route or a wide receiver screen on the backside. You can do it's up to Burrow based on what the defense is doing. And a lot of those, I can tell that Burrow has picked to throw the ball on those, which isn't an incorrect decision, but it looks like the defense is ready for it in a lot of them. So I do think there's some variance there that they should run the ball more. I just think there were some opportunities where it's up to Burrow and he chose to pass.
Absolutely. Now, before we continue this conversation, make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and do us a huge favor. Turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live from the First Star Logistics studio. I want to also remind you guys, every single week, the Cincinnati Bengals play a game. First Star Logistics will be doing a unique prize giveaway. I believe tonight at halftime, we'll be figuring out who's going to be the winner of the Bengals wrapped PS5.
I want it.
Listen, I'm an Xbox guy personally.
Me too.
That's me. But I will say
Spider-Man. I got to play Spider-Man.
Yeah, right. I haven't played Spider-Man in years, but I definitely want to get the new one, honestly speaking. But I can't do that unless I get a PS5. So what better time, obviously, than 100%. So I'm excited to see who's going to wind up winning that. So make sure you guys, you know, make sure you're following First Star Logistics on X or Twitter, whatever they're calling it. And whatever the kids call it, and make sure you also subscribe to the First Star Media Group YouTube channel so you guys can participate in each of these giveaways. But keeping the conversation,
they're going to announce at halftime, though, right?
At halftime, yeah,
like from the suite, right?
From the suite, yeah.
Man,
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I'm excited to see who's also going to be joining us in the suite too. Never know. You never know who might pop up. But with that being said, I want to keep the conversation rolling. Joe, I think that this is going to be one of the toughest games for our safeties. I think we're going to know what we have. A lot of people, you know, entering to the season had a lot of questions about Dax Hill, about Jordan Battle, about Nick Scott. People always said, hey, the Bengals safety room is probably the weak link of the defense. Sure. No game. I don't think there's another game that is going to test your safeties quite like this one. I mean, the Rams do a lot of play action. Before we jump more into that, let me ask you this. What do you think makes the Rams offense so effective? Because if you look at the players that they have on our team compared to the players that we have on our team, you would say, okay, the Bengals on paper head and shoulders better. But the Rams somehow are able to just churn out points and churn out yardage and make it work for them. Everybody thought Cooper Kupp being down was going to be huge for the Rams. Rams said, hey, ain't no problem. People doubted us. People didn't believe on us.
Plug in the next one.
Right. Plug in. And it's like plug and play. Right. So it makes you understand that, you know what, this is probably more Sean McVay. Right. When we talk about the true offensive gurus in the NFL, I think Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Andy Reid are probably on an island by themselves. And I guess I want to hear what your thoughts are on what makes this Rams offense so dynamic, and what should Bengals fans be looking for in terms of what the Rams might be looking to exploit.
Yeah, so the Rams, big part of their success is they make everything look the same if they can. And if the game script is within reason, if it's a one-score game, they're going to be under center. They're going to run wide zone stuff, and they're going to have a lot of play action off of it. A lot of their combo routes are going to look the same as the first second of them blocking as well. Like everything is meant to have one play and run it out of 3 different looks, or show the same look and run 3 different plays out of it. The Bengals can't do that because they haven't been able to go under center. It's been a big hit to their scheme in a lot of ways. Last year, they saved their offense by saying, all right, scrap the under center stuff because we can't block it, and let's go everything from shotgun. It saved their team. They ended up going on a 10-game win streak, the Bengals. This year, we're all like, man, something's missing in this offense. You watch these other teams. These other teams can go heavy at tight end. They can bring in a fullback. They can do other things with the running game that the Bengals don't seem to be able to do. The Rams are going to have a lot of misdirection, a lot of play action, a lot of motion at the snap, a lot of jet motion. And it's very similar to what the Browns and the Ravens did the first 2 weeks. So if you're looking for, why isn't this defense looked as good as they should? Well, number one, the Bengals offense hasn't been very good. They need the support of points to be able to rush the passer and play with their ears pinned back. But the other part is when you play with a lot of misdirection, you do all that motion at the snap, It causes confusion from the defense. Think of it this way. Let's say we got one receiver to the left, and let's say you're the safety here, and me and you are talking between linebacker safety, basically. We got one receiver to the left, you got a tight end over here, and then all of a sudden they bring over another tight end and snap it at the point where he's right behind that other tight end. You're like, all right, I got the number one, you got the number two, but if they snap it right at the time, we may, like, hang on, who's number one, who's the two?
Right.
And we could be confused because based on when the snap happens and where the motion is at the snap. And it causes everyone to kind of freeze a little bit. And that's why you see Mark Andrews just sitting wide open in the middle. Right. And the Rams will do a lot of the same things in order to get Puka Nacua wide open. And it's like,
that was impressive that you just said his name like that.
Well,
I've had a hard time
I had to
pronouncing
scout
his
these
name.
players months ago, man. I'm watching Blake Freeland at left tackle there for BYU, and I'm like, who is 12 catching these bombs? And then I'm like, oh, well, that's who he is.
That's Blake Freeland. I agree with you. I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what my key is. We need to get more pressure on that, on Matt Stafford. We're gonna need to pressure. You're gonna need to pressure him, right? Because I think that's the one thing that's sort of missing from this team. Now, the edges will do what the edges do, but it's funny that we talked in the offseason and we all said 3 tech, right? BJ Hill's a fine player. He's a fine player, but we all nodded and said, okay, 3 tech is a position where we definitely can get some more juice at. Have you been impressed with what you've seen from some of the guys behind BJ Hill, guys like Zach Carter? Do you think he's taking that next step?
The problem is they don't have an athletic penetrator at that spot. Ideally, your 3 tech, and we spent 10 years watching Geno Atkins, so we're a little spoiled on what the expectation
100%.
is. And then we're going to watch Aaron Donald tonight, and it's just not fair, to really expect that. But you are missing a lot of that. You're even missing a Larry Ogunjobi. And what I mean is that first step guy that's going to go between the B gap or the C gap and just absolutely cause chaos and trouble for the offensive line. Bengals don't have that. They got a lot of good run stuffers. Obviously, DJ Reader, one of the best nose tackles in the league. BJ Hill is a very well-rounded mix of both run and pass, but not great at either. And then you got Zach Carter, who was a kind of a DN5 tech at Florida. He put on the right weight this year. Looks a lot stronger, but he's really a run defender still. 2 years in now, he hasn't shown anything as a pass rusher. He's not even getting a lot of these opportunities. You look at the last couple of weeks, it's been Reader and BJ Hill getting the D tackle snaps in nickel. Neither of those guys are going to add a lot as a pass rusher. And in fact, it's been hard to contain the quarterback, Watson and Jackson, because those guys can't move as much and to push that pocket and collapse it. So they are missing something desperately still there. I still think that's going to be an area where we're looking next offseason and go, they still need an athletic 3 tech.
Yeah, 100%. Now, before we get to the part where I love to answer your questions, I want to do something. Let's get Joey G's keys to victory for the Cincinnati Bengals to defeat the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football.
Okay. Number one is game script. What I mean by that is if you can control the game, you stay ahead of the chains. That's the minor part of game script. Stay ahead of don't get to 3rd and 8. Don't get to 3rd and 10, right? You want it 3rd and 2, if anything. You want to stay away from 3rd downs if you can the entire time. At best, you're 50% on 3rd down, so let's not even get there.
Right.
Convert on 1st and 2nd. Get some chunk plays. And if they can score early and stay ahead of the game, I've got confidence they will win. If it's a fight, if it's, man, we only got 3 points at halftime still. If it's we only got 7 points at halftime, you're going to be in a fight now. And just comparing the rosters, we're talking about a top 5 roster in the Bengals versus a bottom 5 roster with the Rams. But if you let the game beat you because you can't get out on an early lead, well, that's a huge disadvantage to this team. And it's always has been for the last couple of years. They've had some great comebacks, mainly the Chiefs and such. But when they're ahead of the game, they're a completely different team.
Yeah.
That's number one. Get ahead, try and stay ahead. Big plays is number 2. Can we finally create some big plays? I don't care if it's in the ground game. I don't care if it's through the pass. They need to find a way to hit one. Data shows if you hit one splash play, any 20-yard explosive or better play, your chances of scoring on that drive are 4 times as likely.
Wow. And
they're not hitting any of them.
Yeah.
They're not getting any. So they've had a couple runs from Mixon. They need to do that. They need to find that. I thought Chase Brown had a chance at one last week. He missed his hold by staying on the outside. It was his only carry. Let's see if Chase Brown can get active this week and do more of that. And then finally, yes, if they can control the game script, through maybe some explosive plays, number 3 would be on defense. Now you can rush the pass.
Right.
You get Joseph Ossai back. Is he the guy that kicks inside and adds some more for this defensive tackle room, rushing from that nickel spot inside? If they can rush the passer, the entire defense will look much better. And I've got confidence if those three things happen, they will win this game.
I love it, man. I'll tell you what mines are.
Go ahead.
Get Joe Mixon involved early and often. Hit big plays. And last but not least, something I kind of mentioned briefly last night in watching the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Raiders game. If you have to punt the ball, win the position battle. Oh my God. Like, Joe, talk me off a cliff here, man, because I personally, like, I would say I'm the more emotional one out of us. I would say maybe I'm probably I'm better.
I keep it
I'm
zipped
good.
up.
You keep it zipped up. And I think I do too, but I think I speak a little more, you know, like I would say. So I want to hear what your opinion is. Am I being too hard on Brad Robbins? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, man, I didn't impress with him. I wasn't impressed with him in preseason.
It depends on how hard you are. I don't know how hard you're being on them. Do you think like they should be looking at another punter? Like they should be scouring the waiver wire?
Not yet, but it's for me. I want to give him till at least the bye week to get, because I think that this team is a championship level team, and one could make the argument, one can make the statement that had the Bengals had good field position in the AFC Championship game, I know it's a new season, we still got to talk about it. If the Bengals had good field position,
make this point because I'm going to go off of it.
Right. If the Bengals had good field position in the AFC Championship game, they probably could have won that game.
No.
And I think the punting situation has been abysmal the last couple of seasons. And for me, when you see a team like the Patriots go out there and draft a guy like Bryce Behringer, right? Then you see a team be able to pick a guy up off of free agency,
punters,
right? Yeah. I mean, on average, consistently getting 45 yards, 44 yards, 47 yards a punt. And then we're getting 30. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, they're averaging about 40 and some change with Brad Robbins, and that's bottom of the league. But their total net is about average in the league, and it's because he is not allowing any returns at all. They're almost all fair caught. Yeah. So if they would have been fair caught in the AFC Championship game, the Bengals might win that game, or it might be close. So they're looking at it like, we want no returns. Right. Done with the returning. And if you can make these guys fair catch, I don't care if it's 40 to 42, 43 yards.
I get what you're saying.
We will take it. Okay. No return. Let's keep them moving.
So in that aspect, I guess it's all about the philosophy, right? It's all about.
And they think his leg will get stronger. They think he'll get more consistent, which is a lot of strength. Is just consistently striking the ball the right way every time. And if he can, they'll be all right.
Fair point. This is why Joe is here, right? And Joe does a great job, obviously, joining the First Star family. How has that been so far for you?
Awesome. Yeah, they are tremendous here. Everything about it is big. It's fun. It's extra. They take care of me, which is all I can ask for. If you've been any type of anything in sports, man, it's not always like this. It is not always the company taking care of you and looking out for you and feeling secure about your job and letting you have the freedom to express yourself and do what you need to do, and First Star does that.
I would agree 100%, which is why, I still say from my professional career and personally, I think that was the best decision I ever made. And a lot of people have been clamoring for us to do this type of collabs. It's tough sometimes. You're in New York, I'm here, but man, any single time Joe comes to town, man, it's always good to get together with my brother. But if you guys could do us a huge favor, again, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live from the First Star Logistics studio. But let's get to the fun part. Let's start answering some of your questions. So do us a favor, drop your questions down below, and let's have some fun. Daniel.
So we got a couple questions. First off, this is more of a funny one, but Hude from Norway, how do I get one of those bucket hats, you guys? Marcin wants one of those bucket hats.
I was going to see they're handing some out today. If you're here, then First Star is going to have some we're going to be down at Bengal Gym's tailgate if you guys are heading to the game. So look for it. They got a bunch of bucket hats.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So a question from Rob. He said, how do we negate those Rams wide receivers, easy pitch and catch passes? And what's the key to success with that?
It's tough because that's their whole plan. Like the whole discussion on we need to scheme more easy stuff up. That has to be a whole fundamental thing. You can't just copy what other teams do. It has to be in your core and your DNA to want to scheme things for everything. And like the Rams do that. The Dolphins do that. The Niners do that. It's tough to defend, and that's why these teams usually have good offenses with lesser talent at times. Now that you see like the Dolphins, they're loaded with speed. The 49ers are loaded with first-round picks, but point still stands. It's going to be difficult. The best way to do it is to stay ahead of the game and make them pass so that you're not worried about the play action. You're not worried about the misdirection. You can say, all right, we're going to take away the deep stuff, let you throw underneath. We're going to come up and make tackles because we're up by 10. So the offense has to score. Defenses around the league look much better as soon as the offense is on track.
Steven's got a question about the tight end room. He said, who gets a nod at tight end today, Gentry or Hudson?
What do you think?
I would like to say it's Hudson. Hudson had a lot of reps and obviously in preseason and looked really good in that. Let me just vent for a second.
Feel free.
I think this
We
is
can talk
the
about
part.
the tight end position now.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Like everybody tried to tell me, oh, well, it's just a tight end, Malik. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's just a tight end until it's a position of need. And Irv Smith. The thing with Irv Smith is it's throughout his entire career, it's potential, untapped potential. But at some point, you want to see it actually show itself. We all had concerns about Irv Smith's injury. Now it's 2 games into the regular season. He's already on pace to miss his first NFL game with the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's the part that's disappointing because we all felt that they didn't do enough to address the tight end position. And I loved what I saw from Nick Hudson, right? It's the reason why I was so adamant about drafting a tight end, whether that be Sam Laporta, right? Or even Michael Mayer, and you look at what that guy's been able to do so far, man. Laporta, man.
He's never been a tight end to have 5+ catches in his first 3 starts.
Different, man. Right. He's different. So I'd love to see the emphasis be put on the tight end position at some point. Let me go a little further with that too. When you have tight ends like the Bengals have that have specific skill sets, right? Almost feel like Liam Neeson when he says I have a specific skill set. But you have Drew Sample, who is a very good blocker, right? You have Irv Smith, who is a receiving tight end. That's what he is. It makes your offense a little predictable when you have guys coming in and out at times too. Like you almost know what's coming. Listen, I know the Bengals aren't going to do it, but let me be the first to start the train really quickly. There's a guy in New England. His name is Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki, let me just say this. You guys know I hammered the table for him for a second. He's not a great blocker. But he is a very good pass catcher. I don't know what Bill's issue is, but he's clearly the Patriots' best receiving tight end on the team. He had an 18-yard receiving game just yesterday. Never saw another reception the rest of the way. Through the first 2 games, he had 5 receptions, 4 receptions, and was, he truly was a dynamic threat for the Patriots. But obviously, with that offense having the issues that they have, he's not being able to be used properly. Hunter Henry's also coming on strong, and now Farrell Brown, for some reason, who the Bengals had at one point in time, is now emerging again. I'm just going to say if the tight end position continues to shake out the way that it is shaking out for the Bengals, I know they don't make trades. I know they don't. But this is a team that is competing for a championship. You want to do everything in your power to exhaust every single avenue to make sure you take this roster over the top. So when the time does come, let's say the Bengals are in the playoffs, let's say they go on a run, right? You want to make sure you leave no stone unturned. You want to make sure that position isn't a position that's keeping you.
I'm sure we'll have a full episode when we get to the trade. If the team gets back into it, and let's say we're at the trade deadline, and even if they're 5-5 at that point or whatever, we're going to be talking about tight end, defensive tackle.
100%.
Can they get a running back in here? And whatever it may be, injuries in the time frame. But you know what? It's funny. I've looked at positional spending and which positions and which spending correlates to winning over the years. Tight end is one of the strongest correlations to if you spend at tight end, you win more games. And why is that? Probably because they get hurt a lot in that position. It's a dynamic position. It's hard to cover. How long as Bengals fans we say we can't cover the tight end? It's a hard position to cover. It's chunk yards, it's free yards. It's an underrated yak position also. The Bengals went cheap at this position. They did not address it entirely. Now they were interested in a lot of guys. They were interested. That's the biggest misconception, I think, is that the Bengals didn't want to address it or they didn't value the position.
They tried. They tried. Foster Moreau. They tried.
They were interested. They would have probably drafted Dalton Kincaid if he was still there.
100%.
They did not want Mayer. I'm sorry. I know that breaks a lot of hearts, but the next guy on their board was Sam Laporta. They would have considered Sam Laporta in a weird situation. Didn't have to happen because Miles Murphy was a first-round graded guy, so they took the first-round graded guy. There was tight ends at the first couple rounds where if they were there, they would have considered it. If they didn't draft him, it's because they had him ranked lower. But to answer the question originally, so we can get back to it, Tanner Hudson probably is the best fit for 100%. An Irv Smith type backup. But if the game plan was to run the ball with Jake Browning all week, Zach Gentry is a big blocker.
Dude, 6'8".
Yeah, you could have 2 Drew Samples out there blocking.
Yeah.
You could actually bring him up and be like, all right, let's run behind him. Let's get some big boys out there and let's run the ball.
Right. 100%. I agree.
So we got a question from Brian. He's asking, Zach came from the McVay coaching tree. Why has he not implemented this type of offense like the Rams have?
The idea was to. So that first year under Zac Taylor, they were a wide zone, a lot of motion. But you know what it was? You ever watch the movie Multiplicity? You guys remember that? Or are you guys too young?
Too young. I was too young.
Multiplicity. Okay. Michael Keaton. Is it Michael Keaton? Anyways, yeah, he gets cloned to help himself out and do all the jobs he needs to do around the house and at work. And so he has more time with the family. But they end up having like 5 clones. And at the end, the last clone is not right. He's not all there mentally. He's not all there emotionally. And he goes, well, what happened? He goes, well, you know, when you make a copy of a copy of a copy, well, it doesn't come out correct. Well, the Bengals running the McVay offense, but being a copy of a copy of a copy, it was missing some of the finer details. Right. Andrew Whitworth talked about this when he went with the Rams, and he goes, the amount of detail they can coach you of not just what we're supposed to do, but why we're doing it and why my position affects his and why I have to hold on to this a little bit longer before I release because it affects that guy. And the amount of detail that Sean McVay is putting into his schemes is just next level.
Right.
Not everyone can do that. We're talking about 5, 6 play callers in the league where we're like, that scheme works no matter what. So we could all want that, but it's not reasonable. I want it to. Don't get me wrong. I'm not defending Zac Taylor. I'm saying most guys are just average play callers. Taylor's advantage is that he's willing to flip the script at any point and change his offense or change the defense. I mean, Lou Anarumo is known for that, for being completely as multiple as they need to be. At halftime, they want to switch and go to a man defense or blitz more or drop 8 or go to a 3-4 look. They will do it. The Bengals will do that on offense. They will scrap the entire playbook and start over, but it takes a few weeks to do so. So long answer, why they don't do it. They tried. Burrow doesn't like being under center. Burrow doesn't like the play action, turning his back to the defense. You got to fit what works with Burrow.
All right.
So we got a question from Hude MD said, looking at the defensive line, why doesn't Hubbard play defensive tackle on passing downs and put Joseph Ossai on the outside?
I mean, they toyed around with it for a little bit.
Yeah,
at one point in time. First couple of years they did. Yeah, Joe, what are your thoughts on that?
He must not like it.
Yeah.
Is my opinion on that. He must not like to do it, and he's out there too much. He's on pace for 1,011 snaps. Will be the most in his career by far. The entire defensive line so far is on pace for plus 650 more snaps than they've ever played in their career. And I'm talking about the 4 starters. Yeah. So they've got to get some relief in there. They've got to get some more versatility. Hubbard plays one spot. Hendrickson plays one spot. They're not as dynamic as they need to be. They should mix these guys around a little bit more. And maybe Murphy, maybe Cam Sample, maybe Ossai can get a couple more snaps in there.
Yeah, you saw last game. The Bengals, I think that one thing that kind of stood out to me was Lou was trying to do a better job of mixing the defensive line and out keeping guys fresh, especially DJ Reader. I noticed that you saw Miles Murphy lining up at 3-tech position at a certain point. So
there was a play where Sam Hubbard at the goal line went to defensive tackle. So Murphy was supposed to be at D tackle. And then wait, because the Ravens came out with 3 wide receivers. So the Bengals are in their nickel with 1 D tackle and 3 D ends. It was BJ Hill was the D tackle there. Hubbard sees that Miles Murphy's going to be at the D tackle spot, and it looks like the Rams are probably going to run right there. Hubbard runs over, grabs Murphy, kicks him out of there, kicks him to D end. He gets down in a 4-point stance and takes on the double team, allows Logan Wilson to come over top and make a tackle right at the 2-yard line or whatever. So Hubbard will do it, and he can do it. That's what makes me think he doesn't like it.
Right. Because we've seen him line up there. He's had success there.
Question from Tori Owens. Tori Owens said, can this win put us on a path to make a run again, just like last year?
No doubt. You look at the Titans after this and then the Cardinals after that, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I was sitting watching the Cardinals game yesterday. I said, well, that's not a gimme anymore.
That happens all the time. Yeah. You're always going to lose to a team. Like if you just looked at the schedule and said, okay, here's the 4 hard games. Here's the 4 easy games. You're probably going to win a couple of those hard games you didn't feel as confident in. You're probably going to lose a couple of those easy games you thought were cakewalks. It's football. That's how it goes.
I agree.
So we got a question looking at, the Bengals schedule. What would you guys say is the hardest part of the Bengals schedule after, the next 2 games, the Titans and the Cardinals?
Man, that stretch where you got to face the Niners, you face the Bills, you face Oh man, it gets hairy pretty fast for the Bengals. I'm pulling up their schedule right now.
I got a thought while you do that.
Mhm.
It could be a lot dependent on Burrow's health.
Yeah.
You know, like this could have been the hardest stretch because you can't do everything you need to do.
Yeah.
We could look back at this and say, you know what, the Browns are a good team. Ravens
Yeah.
are a good team. I don't think the Rams are, but if the Rams keep giving people issues,
Yeah.
they're gonna be fighting in a weak NFC all the way to the
Yeah.
end. So it's like this could be the hardest stretch if your quarterback's only playing at 60%.
Well, it also determines what we're referring to as stretch. We're talking about games consecutively, or are we talking about just I don't know, the next 4 games, if you will, right? But that stretch where the Bengals take on, I don't think the Seahawks are necessarily hard, but they do present some
They'll beat you
challenges.
if you sleep on
Yeah,
them.
100%. So let's say Seahawks, Niners, Bills.
Mhm.
I like what I've seen from CJ Stroud. The Bengals should be able to win that matchup still. CJ Stroud has looked damn impressive,
Mhm.
man. Looks like the best quarterback right now of that class. But then right after that little Texans break, if you want to consider the Texans sort of like a easier opponent, you have the Ravens again.
Mhm.
Then you have the Steelers, who always play us tough. The Steelers always play us tough. And we all know the Steelers that we see right now aren't the Steelers we're going to see later on down the stretch. Then you face the Jaguars, who I think present the Bengals with a lot of issues. I think that stretch is very, very tough. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to be a tough matchup, but if you want just a tip of the hat of what matchups could give the Bengals issues, I think those can.
We got a quick question from Tori asking about the defense. Would you guys, talking about the cornerbacks, would you guys press their wide receivers? Yes or no?
They don't give you chances to. So we're talking about the Rams here. The
Yeah.
Rams are going to stack and bunch the
Mhm.
receivers up, and it's a way to beat man coverage because a lot of people say, like, look at these receivers. We should play man coverage on them and press them.
Yeah.
What they're going to do is they'll align 2 guys at the line of scrimmage or 1 guy off, but they'll have 3 receivers like this, and then they'll have switch releases and different crosses in the releases. And what it does is it confuses you, number one. But what you'll see, the corners will be backed off. So they'll end up with like 6 to 8 yard cushion right at the snap because of the confusion that it could possibly present. You don't want your corners running into each other and guys falling down, leaving wide open spaces. So they don't let you.
We got a question from RDR Who said, I know it's not the right bet, but what do you guys think about this same game parlay? He said Mixon touchdown, Bengals money line, and Mixon over 62 yards.
Rushing, or is that total? Just
rushing.
Yeah.
I think that can happen. I actually like that a lot, but me personally, I've got a little thing I'm going with today. I think the Rams are going to draw first blood. I think the Rams are going to score first, and I'm personally going to live bet the Bengals after that. That's what I would do personally because I think the odds are so close right now. When the Bengals go with a 3 and out, Rams wind up scoring. People are going to automatically think, "Oh, Rams are going to win this game. Rams going to win this game." Bengals are a very good comeback team, I would say, especially outside of their division. I'd say they are. So yeah, that's what I'm going with.
My only advice was on Sunday night, I told people to take the Rams plus 6.5 because I knew the line would drive as soon as the Burrow's injury stuff was coming out. So if you have that Rams plus 6.5, I mean, we're Bengals fans, but that's 6.5 points here.
100%.
Let me know if you have that.
100%. But I do think, to answer your other point, I do think Mixon does have a. I do think Mixon will have a very, very good.
This is the game.
This is
if they don't use Mixon tonight, I think we're going to come away like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
because you didn't have Burrow all week of practice. It should have been.
I agree.
We got a question from Brian. He said, Joe, going off your answer to my previous question, is this offense best tailored to what fits Burrow? Is the current offense what best fits Burrow?
Yes, I think that is the idea. Now, it's hard to say that because they're running the same offense that last year. They go on a 10-game win streak, and obviously the offense looked like it fits Burrow then. The idea of the Bengals offense, if you're looking for it, is to have an answer for every single thing the defense shows you. And they use Burrow as the doctor. He's the one sitting here diagnosing. He gets to the line and he goes, okay, what are they doing? I know what the answer is. Okay, they're showing middle of the field closed, but they're going to rotate here into an open field. It's going to be a cover 2. I'm going to hit this spot. And as long as he double checks at the snap, okay, that's what it is. Turns, fires, balls out in 1.5 seconds. It hits the spot, and they keep the chains moving. If things aren't clear, that's when we end up with issues. But that is the Bengals offense. You're wondering what makes them good is they're willing to do whatever it takes to beat whatever you want to show them. And when they can't function at 100%, and Burrow hasn't been good, so it's not like it's all Zac Taylor. You need Burrow to function at a 90 or above for this offense to look good. And when he's looking at like a 75, like I would say probably was the first 2 weeks, week 1 was even worse, then it's not going to look as good.
Yeah.
Matthew Heitzman said, if I'm Zac Taylor, I'm sitting Joe Burrow to protect him and I'm sticking with Jake Browning or AJ McCarron. He wants to know you guys' thoughts on AJ McCarron being back on the Bengals.
AJ McCarron doesn't know the offense right now.
Right.
So it's a little. It's I think if you need to thrust AJ McCarron into a spot in a couple of weeks, sure, that's something that we can definitely talk about. But and that's all obviously pending on how Burrow looks tonight. All signs point to Joe Burrow playing tonight. He's going to give it a go, as reports have said. I wouldn't be eager to turn the offense. That's just me personally over to Jake Browning. That's just my opinion. I think that what we saw in the preseason, granted, he wasn't thrown to the starters, but I think that was a very, very telltale situation. So for me, yeah, I understand why people think the Bengals should sit Joe Burrow, but I also understand why the Bengals feel like they probably should play Joe Burrow. You don't want to go down 0-3. Just simple as that.
And it sounds like it was a split decision in the organization of we should probably sit him, let him get some rest, get him to as close to 100% as we can, and then, play him. But when you're 0-2, it's already a hill to climb. If you go to 0-3 or 0-4, it is a mountain to climb, and teams don't normally come out of that at all, no matter what. So they want to avoid that 0-3 or 4, and they want to go out there and win. Now, if they lose and still go 0-3, maybe they shut them down for a while and go from there. But a 65% Burrow is still better than Jake Browning. Like, Browning was not a prospect in NFL standards. He was a camp tryout type thing, and he's made a career for himself. Good for him. Yeah. But we're not talking about a good prospect here or a good quarterback. And yes, AJ McCarron was signed, but he's not even going to be dressed, guys. He doesn't know the offense. He is not ready. We're talking, this is like if he's still on the team in 5 weeks and Burrow gets hurt, maybe they go from there. But I mean, we shouldn't even be discussing McCarron at this point.
Huda MD is asking about the Bengals offense, saying, why don't the Bengals use more 4 receiver sets than they are right now?
They do, actually. They've done a lot. You've seen Trent Irwin out there a whole bunch, and it's because they know they only really have one game, so they give him a break every once in a while. You see Trent Irwin come. Clearly, if you have 4 wide receivers out there, the defense knows what you're doing. So you got to keep some mystique.
Absolutely.
So we got a funny question from the Bengal one. He said he's going to give $5 to somebody in the chat, if you put on the white Bengals helmet right now.
No problem. A white Bengals helmet. Bangalore, I love a challenge, man.
I was going to say, is that thing in there? But no, you guys took it out, huh? There's usually like a little, let's see. If you've got another one of the replica helmets, there's a black, like,
$5 to someone in the chat, Malik.
$5 to somebody in the chat. If I can put this on.
There you go.
Let's go, man. Suit me up. I'm ready to go, man. You need a 3 tech tonight. You need a tight end. I can do it all, man.
Like Geno Atkins.
Right. Oh my God. But yeah, man. So
people are loving it in the chat.
Yeah, man. So here's what I'll say, man. Because I want to obviously let you guys get back to your days like that. We appreciate you guys joining us. Obviously, we're a special edition of the Sit Down with Malik. I'm going to wear this for us at the show. But make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications. But I think tonight is definitely an important game for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm laughing at somebody said Malik Atkins in the chat. I think this tonight is an important game for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think that I think that
now he's back to being Geno Wright.
I'm back to being Geno Wright. Oh my God, that's good. That's a good one. But yeah, man, we appreciate you guys so much, man. But listen, Bengals fans, show up loud and proud. It's the all white game, so make sure you guys are wearing your Bengals colors and make sure that we show these boys surprise. Also, Ring of Honor tonight. Ring of Honor.
That has been overshadowed.
Yeah, man.
It's Boomer and Chad, 2 of the most iconic players in Bengals history. Yeah. Probably 2 of all the guys that have already been in the Ring of Honor that are completely deserving. We're talking about 2 guys that defined an era of Bengals football, plus created probably more fans than anyone else that'll probably be inducted into this list until we get to Joe Burrow in 25 years.
100%. Well, what about AJ Green, you think, maybe?
Did he create more fans than Chad and Boomer, though? Probably not.
Nah, you're right. AJ
he brought us back, though, because we were dark in 2011. And then, like that, right away, Dalton and Green are like, oh, we could have fun right away. Right. Like this could be cool.
Right.
So yeah,
it was actually cool watching Andy play the other night too.
I didn't see any of it really. I saw
it was their typical Andy Dalton performance. Not bad numbers. Good number, respectable numbers, obviously, for a starting quarterback. going to give you a chance to win. But when that moment gets tough and it gets rough, just can't climb.
We've
out
seen
of
a lot
it.
of backups play already. Gardner Minshew was playing yesterday. They pulled out the win.
Yeah.
To talk about Bengals not doing enough at certain positions.
Yeah.
Probably didn't do enough at backup quarterback this year.
People listen, people don't realize backup quarterback's an important position, man. It is. It's important. It's not only not important till you need it. When you need it, then it's like, oh man, we should have got a better backup quarterback.
And maybe Burrow wouldn't have played the first 2 weeks had they have actually had a guy to turn to.
Right.
Instead, we sat there in the month of August watching these teams in practice, camping, and preseason, like, yo, ring the alarms. These backups are terrible.
100%. But here's the one thing I'll even say, even a little furthermore to that. I think that people have a negative connotation with it. Essentially, when you have to start a backup quarterback, they think that your season's doom and gloom. I just want to remind you guys for a second. The Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl in large part due to their play of their backup quarterback, who outplayed the GOAT, Tom Brady, in that game as well. But Nick Foles played fantastic. And I'm not saying go out there and sign Nick Foles. I'm saying find a backup quarterback that can suit your system. Because if you have a capable starter, somebody that can keep you afloat, you can win games in this league. And this offense is too talented to just roll over and die. So the Bengals if the Bengals can find a backup quarterback that truly suits and fits their system, if Joe Burrow happens to go down, obviously nobody's going to be able to play on the same level as a Joe Burrow when Joe Burrow is healthy. But what you are hoping is you can try to sort of mitigate it a little bit and make it work for you. So I think that definitely the emphasis after this year should be put on the backup quarterback position.
It's another position they had their eye on in the draft too, where they would have drafted a guy had he still been there. They, a couple guys like DTR for the Browns went earlier than they would have taken, but had he been there later, that was a guy they liked.
Yeah, him. I know they like Aiden O'Connell. Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. Joe, let the people know where they could obviously follow your work and stuff.
If you're on the First Star Media YouTube channel right now, it's every Tuesday and Friday. Well, I don't know if we'll have a Tuesday episode because the game's just ending tonight. I won't even get to the film and get home in time. But be on the lookout for Bengals on the Brain twice a week. You can also find me on Twitter. That's my usual home, at Joe Goodberry, just the way it sounds.
Absolutely. And as you guys know, after every single Bengals game, come hell or high water, I'll be live tonight. What version of Malik you'll get? Probably get a very tired, exhausted Malik version. I'll probably be around at 1 a.m. probably, depending on what time the game ends. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up with that. Joe, it's always great to be with you, my man. Always, man.
Always great seeing you. Like, you're a good host. You do a good job at this.
Thank
It's something
you,
I'm trying to. I've been watching videos like you ever watch other content creators and
I do.
like I'm like, I get better at hosting. You're over here doing your thing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, brother, man. A lot of hard work. A lot of hard work, man. But you do a great job as well.
Thank you.
But again, if you guys like more video content like this, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications.